What's up, everyone? Welcome back. My name is thetryinryan. I'm here with another video, one that's actually going to be kind of an unboxing and a review of the Bonavita 1 liter Gooseneck Electric Kettle. I know that some of you might be looking into kettles right now. Maybe you're trying to consider which one you want to purchase, or maybe you just got this kettle and you're trying to look at the ins and outs of how best to use it. Well, I'm hoping to answer those questions for you, at least for the Bonavita kettle itself. This isn't going to be a comparison video to other kettles, but I am going to try to go through all the ins and outs of this kettle. So without further ado, this is the Bonavita 1 liter Electric Gooseneck Kettle. So Bonavita is a brand that's been around in the coffee industry for quite some time. I used to have one of these gooseneck kettles in a previous version. So not this one. This one's actually new to me, so I'm very excited to open this one up, see what's inside, see what's in store, and see how it's different than what I'm used to. And I'm going to cover all of that to be able to help you out with your decision on your gooseneck kettle that you're trying to purchase, or to figure out how best to use it. I'm going to set the box to the side. I already took pieces out. So of course, you get the top of the kettle. So there are 3 little holes for venting any of the steam as it's heating up. It also has 3 different spots here that has the metal pushing out, so that way it creates a better seal with the rest of the kettle. No worries though, it's because it is going to be very easy to insert and very easy to take off. You have to apply a little bit of pressure, but that's exactly what you want with something like this anyways. It obviously came with the manual and directions, and I'm going to go over some of that so that way we can make sure that we have everything covered that we need to have covered. The kettle itself, it does have the brand name Bonavita on one side. It does not have Bonavita on the other side. I'm not sure exactly why they made that decision. Very solid gooseneck pour here. This is the inside of it. That way you can see. So it does hold 1 liter of water. On the bottom, it has the electric coils that will connect to the base, and that's how we're going to heat it up. It came with one little pack of something called Renew Descaler. So I haven't used this chemical before, but I'm hoping to make a video showing you how to use this one. I may have some other ideas on how best to descale, and that's like if you're using tap water at home, or if you're using some other types of water and eventually it builds up that white calcium type of buildup on the inside of the kettle. I'll discuss that in a different video, but just be aware you may have to descale every once in a while, and so that's why they sent that with it. And then this is the base of the kettle. It does have a few different buttons. Unfortunately, it comes with a very hefty warning sticker, so I'm going to be taking this warning sticker off so that way I can kind of show you how it looks without it. But just know that does come with it. And it does have a power button, a preset button, boil, hold, and then also has a plus and minus. And we'll go over all the different details of what each of those do. And it does have a little LED screen on here as well. As I mentioned earlier, here's where those electric coils will meet with the kettle. So that way it will heat up properly. It does have a small opening on the back of the base, so that way you can put the cord through it, so it will sit flush on whatever countertop or space you're using. Another fancy thing, on the bottom, there is a place where you can actually wrap the cord around for easier storage if you decide not to have it staying out on your counter space. Now let me try to wrap this up to show you what it looks like wrapped up. You're going to follow it around. So in an ideal world, I believe this is supposed to go all the way around and come out this spot here. So maybe I have to go around the other way. So let me try that, but I can't seem to get it to come all the way around either way to get back out that little opening. So hopefully you're not trying to just store it away. Hopefully you'll keep it out in your counter space, but I can't seem to wrap it around enough to where it'll have just this little plug come out through the opening. So just a heads up on that. Not going to change how it affects working. So now before I continue, I'm just going to give a little bit of a rinse out of this kettle. I'm just going to use hopefully either some distilled water. If you need to use some tap water, just give it a little rinse out. We're going to boil it out before we use it, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I went ahead and rinsed it out. I actually used I have a Brita filter that I use for my tap water at home. The best water you could possibly use for coffee or for tea is going to be if you get distilled water. Otherwise, if you could filter your water at home, that's great. By all means, you can get away with using tap water. It's there if you'd like to use it. Just a heads up, if you use tap water, you're probably going to have to descale it more frequently because it might have more of a buildup because it's going to have extra things that are in there. But that's why I would recommend trying to use something like a Brita. Just another mention about this Brita filter is that it's not going to fully reduce any lime buildup. It's not going to fully reduce any calcium buildup. But what it does is it removes all the hard elements as much as possible so that that buildup will happen way less frequently and you'll have way less mineral taste in your coffee. So that way you have the most, it's going to sound silly, the most tasteless, odorless water possible so that you have full flavor of coffee, not whatever is going on in the water. So that's another reason why it's great to have filter or filtration system at home. This is the easiest way to get started with that. I think with just like a Brita filtration system, just the one and done deal. I'll link that in the description below if you're interested in that, along with some more information on it. Otherwise, if you already have a filtration system at home or at your place of work, awesome. You might have something that's way more intense than just the simple filtration system that's in the Brita by itself. I'm going to set that to the side. So let's go ahead and set this on there. It's a nice snug fit, very easy to put on. So, and like we said, here's that lid. I don't think it technically matters where you put the vents. I just put it back towards the handle. That way it's a little bit more aesthetic. You could put it towards the front. I don't think it really matters ultimately where you put the vent for the top. I mentioned earlier that the vent probably doesn't matter, but I was thinking, you know, when I grab this and I go to pour it, I don't think having the vent closest to my thumb is going to be the best idea. So I think it might be a good idea to have it facing towards where it says Bonavita, depending on if you're right-handed, left-handed, so that when you're pouring, it vents and goes up away from your thumb instead of towards your thumb. That's my thought. Maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but I just thought I would share that too. Something else I forgot to show you is actually on the inside. I don't know if I showed the inside of the top. Here's that. But there are little markings. You can see inside there, it says max 1 liter. So when we start to use the kettle, it does give us instruction to fill it up. It says with cold water. I think room temperature is going to be totally fine if you have room temperature. Fill it up to the max, and then we're going to boil it first. And once it hits that boiling temperature, we're going to go ahead and dump all of that out through the gooseneck pour, and then we are good to go and start using it. That's something that the instructions do say. So let's go ahead and get this set up with the water to the max line, and we're going to go ahead and start boiling it. That way we can begin using it. I went ahead and put it up to the max line, and as you can see in this other camera, there is a gap, which is nice, so that if it's boiling and bubbling, it's not going to be bubbling outside of the vent. Because the problem is, if you fill it too much and it starts boiling, I don't think it's going to stop working. I think it'll still do what you're telling it to do, but it might start bubbling through this, and that could cause pain if your hand is close by. And just a note of safety, please be aware, this metal is going to get hot. Please don't touch it while you're using this. That's what the handle is for. The handle is your safe spot. And then also this piece here is plastic, so when you go to remove that, be careful, because if there's hot water in it, it could splash out. So just make sure you're opening it away from you and not towards someone else, unless they're your enemy, you know. But please don't do that. You don't want to hurt yourself or anyone else in the process. So just make sure you're aware of that. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. And we're going to hit boil. Now, auto is set, if you can see this, it was set to 185. That's the factory preset. There's several different presets in there. I'm going to read them off to you while it's doing this. But now it says, 68 degrees Fahrenheit? It does standard come as Fahrenheit. You can change that. According to the manual, if you hold the plus and minus down for a little bit, it should shift it to Celsius if you prefer Celsius. We're going to press boil, and it is going to now tell it to heat all the way up to boiling. And while it's doing that, I'm going to read off some other stuff. Now, the fancy thing about this boil, I just read it in the manual, is that it will change based on your altitude. And apparently this machine is smart enough to know that if you're at a high altitude, your boiling point is going to be a little bit lower than the regular 212 degrees of Fahrenheit. So it should adjust according to where you live. And I thought that was a really fancy thing to have in there. Now, if you are curious about what the standard preset temperatures, which is this button over here, it has, I'm going to read all in Fahrenheit, 140, 176, 185, 190, 205, and 208 degrees, all in Fahrenheit. If you need Celsius, it's 60, 80, 85, 88, 96, and 98. And then obviously there's that boil button as well. Now, you can't change the preset temperatures. However, you can adjust your custom temperature when you first turn it on. You can hit the plus and minus to change what temperature you want to use. And that can be a preset temperature that you want. So let's just say you need it specifically to be 198 degrees. You can turn it on, you can adjust it to the 198, and then it will go to the 198 degrees. And it will remember that until you change it to a different preset or a different custom. So you don't get to change the custom preset, but you can change the one manual it goes to. And so if you do have a very specific delicate tea, no worries. You can go ahead and change it to whatever that temperature is you need it to be at. And hopefully the rest of these preset temperatures will match what you might need for your white tea, green tea, black tea, or whatever else you might need. I'm going to primarily use it for coffee. So I'm primarily going to set it to 205 degrees because the best range for coffee is 195 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, a quirky thing that I don't fully understand is that when you press boil, it just says boil. It doesn't show you the temperature or anything like that. But if I click it off, it will tell me it's at 138 degrees Fahrenheit, but now it's not going to the boil. Whereas if you set it to any other temperature, it's going to show you that temperature as it rises. But just so you know, when you press boil, it's only going to say boil. It is heating up. You notice that the power button did light up, so it's on its way up, but you just don't know what temperature it is. Unless you have a fancy, one of those poker thermometers, similar to what you use maybe when you're cooking meat. You can actually put that in one of these vent holes if you really want to. I don't advise it the most, but you could if you really want that extra temperature gauge to see what the temperature is at while it's heating up. Just to note, if you ever want to interrupt the process of when it's heating up, you can always press the power button, which will turn it off, and it will show, or turn off the heating element, and it will show what temperature it is. It says it's 185 degrees right now. We're going to press boil. Oh, I actually turned it all the way off. If you press the power button again, it will turn it all the way off. See, the LED screen is off. So go ahead and turn it back on. It says 185 is what it's set to. We're going to boil it again. And then the other way to interrupt the process is if you pick this up. See how now it says 000? If you set it back down, it's just going to show you what the temperature is now, which is 185 degrees. That's not the preset. That's actually what the water temperature is right now. Oh, actually it updated. It says it's 192. So if you don't do anything now, it's only going to show you the temperature, and it will start slowly falling down as it cools off. It will show this for up to 7 minutes and then turn off automatically if you don't do anything else. So I'm just going to press boil again. And let's get it back up to boiling. It's now just hit 212 degrees. So the heating element now has turned off. If you notice that the light is no longer on with the power button, and there was some steam coming out of here, and it says 212 degrees. So this is when we're going to be able to pour out the water and start over so that we can actually start using it. I just want to note, the base itself is actually not hot. I feel a little bit of warmth, but it's not very hot. The base of the kettle is also pretty safe, but anything that's going to be metal you're not going to want to touch that because that's going to be very, very hot. So please be careful as you pour out that first liter of water. So I already got to a boil. I already exposed of all of that boiling hot water safely into a sink. I let it stand for at least a minute. And let's go ahead and fill it back up with some filtered water. And let's do some other button pressing to see what else this can bring. There is a minimum line in there. I don't know if I got to show that with the other angle, but there is a minimum. So make sure you have at least that much in there. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this back on. And like it says, 185 automatically, but you see if you press the plus or minus, you can change that temperature. I'm just gonna put it back to 185. There's presets, 190, 205, 208, 140, what is that? 116, 185. So I'm gonna put it at the 205 because that's what I'm gonna want the most. And I'm gonna press hold. And what hold does is once it does get up to that 205 degrees, it will hold that temperature up to 1 hour. That's what it's programmed to do. So maybe you're in a situation where you're getting ready for work or something. Maybe you put some filtered water in it the night before and you turn it on. You already have it set to your 205. You already know that. You turn it on, you hit hold. So that way you can go ahead and get ready, maybe brush your teeth, brush your hair, whatever you got to do, and then it's going to automatically hold that temperature for you up to an hour, which hopefully it doesn't take you a full hour to get ready for work or whatever you got to do. But that way you have extra time, because otherwise, if you don't press the hold button, it will hit that temperature that you asked it to, 205, for my example, 205 degrees. It'll hit it and then immediately stop. And it's going to show you the temperature for up to 7 minutes, but that's it. And then it will fully turn off. So it's not going to hold that temperature for you at all. It's only going to hit the temperature and then immediately start cooling off. But if you hit the hold, it will hit that temperature and hold it right around that temperature for you. So that's a really helpful thing to have. With the previous Bonavita Gooseneck Kettle that I had, I was serving several pour overs. I was doing Kalita Wave at the time. And so what I would do is, as soon as I was done pouring one, I knew I would have enough water in there for a second one. I would just set it back on there and hit hold again. And then when I was ready to make the next one, my 205 degrees was still there with the water because I pressed the hold button and I was ready to make that next pour over. Then I would have to refill it, obviously, for the next one or a couple after that. But what I'm saying is that hold button is a really nice feature to be able to have in certain situations. So this is showing me, since it's not on boil, because on boil, it just says boil the whole time until it hits the temperature for some reason. But when it's not on boil, it shows you the climbing temperature on this display. So right now it says 149, and now it's 150. So you can see how hot it is at the point. So maybe if you're in a rush for some reason, and you know that it hits 195, and you're like, good enough for coffee. All right, let's go. You can just grab it and go. I would still recommend, obviously, waiting until the 205, in my personal opinion, but now you know. I don't know how well you can hear this kettle going. Let me move my microphone closer to it and see if you can hear it better. That's just the sound it makes as it's heating up. It's got maybe some of the bubbles in the bottom rising because it's so hot on that plate versus the top of the water. Just to briefly go over some of the cleaning instructions. If you have something going on the outside, the manual specifically says use like a damp cloth and just wipe around the outside. Never ever submerge the kettle in water because of those electric components in the bottom. And never submerge this bottom piece, which is full of electronic components. Please don't ever do that. If you need to wipe something off, use warm water with like a paper towel or washcloth and go ahead and wipe that out. If it's a really bad stain, maybe you could use like a Lysol wipe or something like that and then follow it up with some water and a paper towel just to make sure there's no other residue that's on it. I would strongly recommend unplugging it when you go to clean it, so that way you don't accidentally turn it on and actually turn on any of the electronic components. The manual also does say that if you do want your lid to be tighter or looser, those little tabs that I showed earlier, you can actually pry those out a little bit further to make it more tense, or you could push them in further to make it looser. So if you feel it's too tight or too loose, you can adjust that a little bit. So check this out. So I hit the 205. And now it's staying there because I hit the hold. But if I take it off, it'll say 000 on there because it's going to wait up to 7 minutes and then turn off. Even if I set this back on there, it's going to tell me what the temperature is, which it says the water is still at 205, but it's in the process of going, it's going to turn off if we don't do anything else. Up to 7 minutes, no interaction, it'll turn off. So there's a count up timer, supposedly. I didn't even know this. So you see how it says zeros right now. If we hit the plus button, it'll start counting up. So this will count up to 7 minutes because, again, it will turn off without interaction for 7 minutes. I don't know why you would need this specifically. Yes, you can use it for when you're doing a pour over. I would probably recommend, if you're using a scale that has a timer and gram measurement at the same time, I would recommend just using that. But if you really need it, there is a timer there, because it should not take you 7 minutes to do a pour over. It should not take you 7 minutes to make a tea or to steep it. Now, the only thing is, since it's a count up, it's not going to beep at you. There's no like beeping components or anything like that. So it's not a countdown. It's only count up. Same if you use a scale, but it's there if you need it, I guess. And then to stop the timer, if we set this on there, I believe it stops it. Yep. So now it just says the temperature. If we pull it up, yep. So that stops it. Let's just see. Is there another way to stop it? I think if you hit the plus button or something. Nope. So how about minus? Nope. 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 So there's no buttons that will stop this timer. The only way to stop it is to put this back on there. Just a funny little thing that's in there. I just wanted you to know that it's there in case you want it. But again, if you need it to change temperatures for any reason, say it started lowering temperature, now it's down to 202 degrees and you want it to get back up to that 205, you just have to hit either the power button or the hold button, because that will make it stay at that heat or get it back up to that heat. And just so you know, there is supposedly a 1-year warranty built into this, and it supposedly starts from when you purchased it. So if you would like to print out your receipt or have a copy of that somewhere, that way you can access it. In case anything happens electronically that is outside of you doing something to it, then the product should be either replaced or fixed. There's an email address and a phone number that you can call if you do need that adjustment or that fix for your product, but it's not going to cover if you hooked it up to the wrong electricity supply or if you dented it or something like that, unless it came that way. But even if it came that way, you might have to go through where you purchased it, not through Bonavita. But just so you know, there is a 1-year warranty that comes with it. Now, I do realize I actually didn't show you how it pours. So I would like to go ahead and grab one of my Chemexes to be able to show you how it pours. Let me grab that real quick. So just so you can see how it pours. Okay. This is the Gooseneck Kettle. It's very controlled. And if you tilt it back a little bit, you can actually get it slower. Versus if you push it forward, then it obviously pours out more aggressively. But I really like this design, and I think it works really well. So I'm very excited that I now have another Bonavita for my electric kettle. I'm so excited to have a gooseneck at home. And if you are interested in figuring out how to do other brewing methods, whether it be for tea or for coffee, I'm going to be making some more videos. Please like and subscribe to follow along with that journey. Otherwise, I will have another playlist linked up somewhere, up here, up there, somewhere, that you could actually watch those videos, and hopefully you can learn how to either brew them at home or be prepared to brew them in a corporate setting. I'll also have training material that goes with it, obviously for free. So please feel free to utilize that information for your best benefit, and so that you can make an amazing cup of coffee, whether you're at home or in a coffee shop. But that way we can all enjoy one of my personal favorite beverages, coffee. So thanks again for tuning in. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you.